So you're thinking about moving to Overland Park, Kansas. Well, I don't blame you. And in this video, we're gonna be talking all about Overland Park, Kansas, what you need to know, how to get around. We're gonna be looking from the 30,000 foot view, getting on the Google Maps, showing you where everything's at. And if you stick around to the end, I'm gonna tell you why Overland Park, Kansas keeps making the #1 charts as the best place to live in the nation. And we're gonna get started right now. Hey, if this is your first time tuning into the channel, you want to know everything there is to know about living in Kansas City and places like Overland Park, Kansas. If you click subscribe, hit that little bell for notifications so you can be the first to know the current market here in the KC metro area. My name is Zac Morton. My business partner, Max Jones, the MoJo Real Estate Team, and I have been helping people move to Kansas City for over 20 years. We absolutely love it, but don't take our words for it. See what our clients have to say with over 600 five-star Google reviews from people just like you. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, just pick up that phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, drop us an email, even schedule a Zoom call. All of that's in the description below, so we can chat with you about your goals and help you with that seamless transition into your new market. So today, Overland Park, I'm gonna step up to my computer here and start moving my mouse around a little bit, kind of show you guys how it's laid out, where Overland Park is, and all that good stuff. So let's grab the pencil here. I always like to start these first with, there is a Kansas City, Kansas, and a Kansas City, Missouri. We get this all the time from new folks, and I'd just like to point that out real quick, that there is a river called the Missouri River. Runs like this, and then keeps going east, but right here at the state line, well, the river keeps going, but the state line drops down. So this is the dividing side. So you got Missouri over here, and then we've got Kansas on the west side. And that's how it's laid out. You can see that most of the population of the city lies on the Kansas side, and that the Missouri side, although it's very sizable and continues to grow, there's been more development on the Kansas side. So that's how it's laid out. We are down here in Overland Park. And then I'm gonna point out too that we've got the airports up here kind of near Platte City, which is north of the river. So anybody, you know, this river keeps going all the way across the state. Anybody, just some lingo when you're in town that lives up here is called, we live up north, we live north of the river. Anybody down there lives down south or south of the river. Overland Park, for the short term, is OP. So we all go to OP, Kansas, if we want to save some words, save some breath. And then you've got the east side of town and the west side of town. But for the most part, when people talk south, they're talking the Kansas side. So now that we've got that cleared up, and you know there's two Kansas cities, let's dive in a little bit closer to Overland Park. Well, you know what? While we've got this pulled up, let me point out these highway systems. We've got City Center, of course, is right here in the center of the city. We've got 3 major highway systems that kind of run through, well, I'll say 4, that run through the city. Let me clean that up just so we can highlight those separately. We've got I-70, which is one of those coast-to-coast highways, runs right through Kansas City, right through the city center. We've got this highway called I-29. It's also called 49. It's also called 71. It goes all the way up to Canada and all the way down to Louisiana. And then we've got 35 that crosses through town this way, and that's going to go all the way up to the Great Lakes and all the way down to Mexico. So as you can see, we are a hub for the whole country. A lot of these highway systems go all the way coast to coast, all the way north to south. So there is, just to point out, a lot of over-the-road traffic, a lot of transportation. You'll know when we get a little closer or start zooming in a little bit, you'll see a lot of transportation distribution companies. So that's just something with Kansas City. If you're gonna build a spider web, you know, start at the middle and then connect everything, and that's why they call us the Silicon Prairie too. You know, Google has a huge presence here with fiber. I think they've laid more fiber in the Kansas City area than any other particular city in the country, and it's because we've got that central location. In fact, Meta or Facebook, depending on how you know them, they have actually decided to call Kansas City their home. They're building a 5 million square foot facility up north of the river, right near Smithville here. But anyway, it's going to be a mega facility tapped into all that fiber and all that data right here in the country, so coast to coast. So my kids should have no lag on their meta games. So anyway, I digress. Let's zoom in a little bit and take a look at OP. That's what we're here for, right? All right, clear that up. Grab my mouse back. You know, in Kansas City, we've been getting, we've been, like I said, doing this for 20 years helping people move here, but really since COVID, we have had a huge influx. You know, as Zoom came out and all these other ways that you can go to work and go to meetings without actually having to travel, and now more people can work from home. You know, because of the cost of living here and what you can get for the money, people that have those high paying jobs that are either out west or out east can now start thinking about, like, I don't have to have this huge expensive lifestyle. I can still make this great income, but if I can do it from anywhere, why not go to a place where I can bank a bunch of cash and maybe retire early because of the cost of living? We still have a lot of the amenities. You may lose a few like mountains and oceans, but we've got some other things that kind of make up for that. But that's what we're seeing a lot. Like even just since COVID in my neighborhood, I've got, you know, we're getting people from New York, California, Texas, whatever. But we've got 2 new friends that have moved here from New York, great folks. I've got a new friend that moved from Hawaii, you know, another high cost of living area, and California. So that's just in the past year, that's just my neighborhood. So we are seeing a lot of that, and hopefully you'll see why here pretty soon. So Overland Park, it's on the south side of Kansas City. It is on the Kansas side. Here is here's the river that we were talking about earlier, and then here's that north-south divider line between, you know, Missouri over here, Kansas over here. Now, Overland Park is the biggest suburb of Kansas City, the biggest, the baddest, has the most people. We're looking at right at population, about 200,000 people living right in here, and 75 square miles. So I always say this thing's kind of shaped like an ugly Christmas tree. You can kind of see the outline in red. And as you probably can imagine, all life started nice and close around the city center, and then as things grew and got newer, it worked its way south. And you know, that's kind of how a lot of cities play out. It starts at the center and then it spreads out or grows out. That's exactly how Overland Park is laid out. So let me clear this up again. We'll zoom in a little bit on the north section. We'll just start there in the old part. We've also done a vlog on this. We've done a video on some of the top neighborhoods to live in Overland Park, but really, this is the premier spot, and I love talking about Overland Park. I love hanging out there. In fact, one of my favorite spots is right here on the old downtown square right off Santa Fe. So in our vlog, we're standing right down here, but we've got all these shops. This is the old, if I zoom out just a little bit, you can probably tell that it's pretty gritty right in here, a nice grid. This is kind of like the old Main Street. You know, you've got Santa Fe, which was the Santa Fe Trail, all the settlers when they came out west. This is where the Missouri River kind of quits going west and starts, or I guess it actually flows south into the east, but they were going upriver, and this is where it stops going west and starts going north. So everybody got off around this area, grabbed provisions, and then hopped on their wagon trails and headed out. So this was the Santa Fe Trail, Oregon Trail, the Overland Trail. They all kind of mingled and came right through the Kansas City area, and then went off to Oregon, went down to New Mexico. So Santa Fe is, you know, we're right there. So this is kind of the downtowny area, the old downtown with the blocks and the shops and all the restaurants and the farmers market and the parades. And it's super walkable. It's fun to hang out. There's a lot of local, like brew labs, the Buffalo. There's a lot of local cuisines here, and a lot of options. You've got Ethiopian, we've got hummus and pitas, kind of the Greek place, and just all kinds of fun foods. And then when the farmers market kicks off too, you know, just a variety of people like growing organic, like all the different mushroom varieties. Now I've been getting into mushrooms lately, getting my lion's mane, and all kinds of fun stuff. So the farmers market's off the hook, all the parades, the bars, the community really loves this area because they, you know, like just a nice place to walk to, hang out, come downtown with the family. It's not super crazy. The shops aren't over the top. It's just kind of that nice, affordable, kind of average price point downtown area to hang out. In fact, I've got an Airbnb just over here off Antioch. So if you want to come stay, there's also lots of them around here that's super walkable. You can come down, reach out to us first. We can hook you up and kind of save some of those other pass-through costs, and plant you right down here to where you're walkable. You can go down and enjoy this place, and then explore Overland Park as a whole if that's something you're considering. So I love this little spot. This is the clock towers right up here, and this is where, if you watch our vlogs or any of our other videos, we're standing walking up and down, because when you think of Old Town Overland Park, it's just the iconic little quaint little area. that's got a good vibe to it, a park right next to it, and just feels good. It's a fun time. But as we zoom out a little bit, so you can see this is all older, 1950 post-war. These are like the smaller ranch homes, all set up on blocks. Some sidewalks, some not, but you know, just the cool older homes they're certainly being revitalized. A lot of like they're even starting to tear down a few. I know on our vlog we go walking around and looking at some houses. So some are tear down, some are infill. So it just keeps getting better and better. Super nice. But then you'll see all around here there's like a restaurant dining area as you go north and then south. I mean, Overland Park is massive. And then as we get south, as you continue to move south through Overland Park, the houses continue to get newer, they continue to get bigger. You know, back when in the 50s, when they started building up here, I mean, rates, I hear stories from the old timers of rates that were like 18, 25, 22%, all that great stuff. So when those rates were super high, of course, you know, to make a house affordable, they had to build it small. And then as, you know, pretty much since then, we've been in a declining rate environment up until, you know, last year when they started to tick the other way. I've been selling real estate 20 years, and the entire time rates have been coming down ever since I started. So this is really our first experience, my first experience with an environment where rates are starting to go up. So as rates came down over the, you know, the last 30 years, the houses continued to get bigger and bigger, more massive and more massive. And, you know, more people, more business, more infrastructure just kept growing. So, you know, that's exactly how Overland Park, as you go south, bigger, better, bigger, better, bigger, better, until you get all the way down here into some really nice multi-million-dollar homes on several acres. And you can still find a little bit of farmland, but lots of developments, golf courses, lakes, or little lakes that you can live on, and you know, planned community developments, stuff with the schools, the golf course, grocery store, shopping, all that's right in your neighborhood. So lots of cool stuff going on in Overland Park. But some of the major highway systems that I like to point out in OP that makes it nice and easy and convenient is we have 35. So we mentioned that earlier. That runs just along the west side and straight into downtown. So that puts you like 15 minutes. Of course, it depends where you're at in Overland Park, but in general, like 15 minutes. Now, this is a heavily trafficked road. There's a lot of suburbs and cities that adjoin Overland Park. We've done vlogs on those. You can check them out: Leawood, Lenexa, Olathe. And they're pretty heavily populated too, not near the size of Overland Park, but that's going to give you a lot of people dumping onto the highway to get in and out of downtown. So we do have a rush hour. Depending on where you're coming from, you might think it's a joke. Unless there's a major wreck, we never really see traffic stop. If you do, it's just for a minute or two, but you always kind of keep moving. Several lanes here, and then on the weekends and, you know, during non-rush hour, it's not bad at all. So maybe it's laughable depending on where you're coming from. We also have this highway. This will go around the entire city. It circumvents the entire city. It's 435, and it's a loop, and it goes all the way up north to the airport. Oop, drawing some crazy pictures here. All the way up to the airport, all the way around the whole city. So if you don't want to drive through town, if you're trying to get to the airport, this would probably be the highway I'd hop on, circumvent that city traffic, shoot you straight up to the airport if you're traveling a lot. That's pretty much the only negative that I can think of about Overland Park is if you're traveling a lot or you're traveling for work, is the distance to the airport. You're going to be, you know, the airport's up in this vicinity right here. So you hop on 435, zip around. Now it circumvents city traffic, but it's still, you know, because everybody else is using it to get out of the city too and get home. So it can still be pretty heavily trafficked during rush hour, but that's how that highway kind of looks, and there you have it, 435. And as an interesting mnemonic device, how us real estate agents in the Midwest here in Kansas City remember how many square feet are in an acre. It's 435. On 435 highway, you used to be able to do 60 miles an hour. Now it's like 65 or 70, but 435/60 is how many square feet are in an acre. Now you know. If you can remember this highway system, you'll never forget it. All right, back to Overland Park. So we've got those two great highway systems that are gonna take you right into town. I mean, 435 runs right through Overland Park, so it's easy to get onto, and get you through Overland Park east to west as well. We've also got this, now there's a highway called Metcalf. It used to kind of be, I would say, almost the main street. It was the main highway to get south down through Overland Park. It's still kind of the business district, so it'll have a lot of, you know, car dealers, restaurants, shops, mechanics, all that. Still heavily trafficked, but what Overland Park did was they put this beautiful highway called 69 Highway, and it runs all the way north and south through Overland Park, so that when they put that in, it just really eased up the traffic, and now you can just hop on the interstate and really zip all the way through Overland Park, getting off anywhere to get to your neighborhoods, shopping, all that good stuff. So I can say that even though it's big, there's a lot of people, all that craziness going on, that it is so nice to have a major highway system going right down the middle, right across the middle, and then right down the side. So that is all laid out pretty well as far as the highway system. So we're back up here in the north. School districts, they're all going to be pretty close to neighborhoods. The main school district that services the Blue Valley school system. There's a Blue Valley north and northeast, to west to south. They've got all the Blue Valleys. There's actually 4 school districts in Overland Park. You can't go wrong with any of them. The biggest one is Blue Valley, and that is going to primarily be your school district, but there's also a few others on the outskirts, up at the very north edge. So just keep that in mind. They're all A+, they're all highly rated. In fact, that's one of the big draws to Overland Park, is because people want to get in that Blue Valley school district. So if schools are important to you, then definitely check out Overland Park, Kansas. Also take a look at niche.com, greatschools.org, another great resource to really pinpoint and hone in on what's important to you about the schools. But you know, you can't go wrong. You have access to all the sports, everything you want. In fact, there's even like 12 private schools. There's all the religious denominations. You've got Lutheran, Christian, Catholic. There's a Jewish, a Hebrew. There's even a Japanese school on the weekends. It's at one of the colleges, and then several community colleges and several satellite campus colleges that are all located in Overland Park. So that's why people choose Overland Park. If you've got kids, is the education. That's one of the big reasons. So you just can't go wrong there. Everybody in the city, people coming in that we bump into Overland Park, they're looking for schools, or they're looking to live close to work and just want the best of the best. And this is one of those areas that just kind of checks all those boxes. So let's see. Overland Park. It's called Overland Park. It must have a lot of parks. Yeah, it does. It's got 83 parks, in fact. And that's not why they called it Overland Park. I guess the name actually comes from, it was a park-like setting back in the old days. So they're like, yeah, let's call it Overland Park. We got the Overland Trail going through. It's a park-like setting. All makes sense. So that's not why it's named Overland Park, but there is amazing parks all spread out through Overland Park. Lots of trails, disc golf. Some of the jungle gym setups are like 3 stories high with spider web, just state-of-the-art stuff all the way through. Kids are always having a blast. I'm just driving down some of the roads. There's aquatic centers, water parks. There's so many things to do. There's a botanical garden area that's not even included in that acreage. I think over 1,800 acres of park. So, you can see it on all the green here too. You just can't go wrong. And then of course, there's golf courses. You can live on golf. There's public golf courses. So if golf's your thing, there's a really prestigious golf course down there. It's got everything going for it. Restaurants. Oh, look, Jack's Barbecue. That's one of my favorites. If you're coming to Kansas City, you're going to have to try a lot of barbecue. That's what we're known for, right? In fact, just across over here is the Kansas State, in Lenexa, it's the Kansas State barbecue competition. So you can sign up and go to that. There's just so many great things going on close to Overland Park. Here's the museum. So that's kind of how the north is set up. Let's take a look at this real quick. I like to pull this up just so you can see like the older, smaller homes on the grid. We've got the nice old downtown area. You can see there's Metcalf. That's that kind of busy industrial street I was telling you about. And then over here is kind of the old downtown. And then as we start to move south through the city, it opens up a little bit. There'll be some more shopping districts. There's really, you never get too far away from a neighborhood without having grocery stores. And the grocery stores that you're going to find in Overland Park, you've got pretty much everything that you're going to find in Kansas City in general. So Costco's, your Whole Foods, your natural grocers, your Sprouts, all these. The major basic ones are going to be like Hy-Vee and Price Chopper. All are going to have organic options, and then of course your big box stores, Walmarts and Targets and all that good stuff as well. Home Depots, all that kind of stuff. But usually around, for the big box stores and the big anchors, is usually around these highways, around 35 or these big intersections. So you can see it kind of all playing out in here. But I'm going to zoom in on this real quick and point out, let's see, we're 69. Over here is our Corporate Woods, which is kind of our business district. Corporate Woods, so that's right off the 435 and 69, and that's just a big area, big area full of not super skyscrapers, but high rises. A lot of corporations will tend to rent space or do business in some of these big buildings, and then just all along 435, you're going to see big business. Lots of opportunities, lots of big employers in Overland Park. In fact, it's one of the more, besides Kansas City, major employers is Overland Park. So you're going to have all kinds of job opportunities to live where you work. And that's one of the beauties about being on the Kansas side. There's this thing called the e-tax. If you work and live on the Kansas side, you don't have to pay that. And what that e-tax is, it's 1% of your earnings that go to Kansas City. But mainly that's on the Missouri side, because that's where all the big businesses are, on that Missouri side. So by being down here on the Kansas side in Overland Park and working in Overland Park, you're going to avoid that 1% tax on your income. And it may not sound like a lot out of the gate, but you take that year after year after year after year. I mean, you live 15 years in the house or 10 years. I mean, that's 10% of your income. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that word. So just something to think about when you're moving this direction. And then we'll find that a lot of doctors, there's a lot of hospital systems down here too. The school district's massive, so a lot of opportunities there. Engineering, financial services, and just all kinds of stuff. But a lot of doctors, there's some reasons with liability that doctors will choose to live on the Kansas side versus the Missouri side. So I think if you're going to get sued for malpractice or something, in Kansas they can't take your house. At least that's how it's been historically. I mean, I guess everything's subject to change, but they can't come out after your house. So a lot of doctors and medical professionals that are kind of in that high end will choose the Kansas side just as a veil of liability, a little bit more protection if something was to go wrong. I mean, everybody carries their malpractice and all that, but it just gives them a little bit of a buffer that you don't have on the Missouri side. So I'd like to point that out if you happen to be in the medical field. Shopping down here. So I talked about the grocery stores, some of the main shopping in the entire Kansas City area is right here in Overland Park. And you can see like Trader Joe's. I didn't mention that earlier on grocery, but this whole area right here, we'll zoom in on that so you can see all this shopping. We've got Town Center Plaza. This is a massive area, and then it just spins off their shopping all the way down the street. But this is one of the biggest shopping areas in the entire city of Kansas City. So people, if there's anything you want, you're gonna find it in Overland Park. There's other shopping districts. This is probably the biggest and best one. There is one downtown called the Plaza. It's a really condensed version of this, just a couple blocks, a little more upscale, but smaller buildings, you're right downtown. But it's a great place to go shop and eat and restaurant. It's condensed and super walkable. But the next best thing, if you want to hit everything, you're going out power shopping. Everybody in the city will, including people that live in Overland Park, will go here for anything major. So just something to point out. You've got that town center right there, and then all up and down here is going to be more shopping. 5-star, you got like the Bristol seafood right there. There's a lot of steak houses, so a lot of that 5-star dining experience you can find right along this road as well. There's also stuff scattered all through Overland Park and some of the nicer neighborhoods. You can check out our video on the top 5 neighborhoods in Overland Park, and it kind of points out some of those restaurants and other areas. So just can't, and they still have the indoor mall. They've got Oak Park Mall, which is one of, I think there's maybe 2 malls left in the greater Kansas City area, and one of them is in Overland Park, and I joke about it in some of our other videos. It's right here on the west side, right off I-35, but how my daughter just turned 16, and I've never taken her there, but she has found that since she's been out exploring the city as a 16-year-old, and that's where she goes. She goes hang out in the mall. It's been a long time, man, since I tight rolled my jeans and took a stroll through there going to but you know, it was fun in the good old days. Now we have a lot of the outdoor malls and strip centers and that's kind of what people are building. But this is one of the last two in Kansas City, and it is thriving. So talked about corporate woods, we've talked about some of the major shopping, and then of course there's going to be little shopping centers and micro centers and all of that all throughout Overland Park. As we get south here of 435, it's still pretty densely populated. Right in here along the highway, you see we got our Costco's and our Sam's Clubs, so yeah, that's definitely there too, and along these highways. But then as you get further south, down here you can see where it's nice and green and spread out. Now these are some of your, some of your big ticket homes. I don't know if you can see, but just monstrous. You've got lakes in the backyard, circle drives. That's probably like a 8 to 10,000 square foot house with a beautiful patio. So you get up into the millions when you get down south here, but it really feels like the country when you're out driving around. There's the botanical gardens. I'm not exactly sure how many acres that is, but you can go down there and just chatting, just walk for days, lots of exercise. I got the lake and feed the ducks, do all that stuff and check out the botanical garden style stuff. But here's some other, these big like estate size lots, just big lots, big homes. So that's an option too. Really, you can watch our vlog on this where we look at some houses at different price points. We're in front of houses that are $1 million. We're in front of houses that are $450,000. I mean, there is really a big spread, but there's something for everybody here. And even though the average price point might be $450 or I think it's like $575 for a list price right now, you can still always find stuff just in this current market. Anything under that average price point is just, it's gone in seconds, gone in 60 seconds, as they say. So that's kind of how Overland Park's laid up north to south. All these great shopping areas. I will say that 35 is another major area right off of 69 highway. So you're gonna have some of the, like Lionsgate over here is a fantastic golf community, and they have Lionsgate by the Greens, and they have all these other little kickoffs up from it. But a really prestigious area. I think it's been around for like probably 20 years now, but just beautifully laid out. You get your shopping right there. You got your school district right here in the neighborhood. You've got your pickleball, tennis courts, trampoline parks. Ooh, pad thai. I do like some pad thai. But really well laid out. And there's several golf course communities. So if you want to live on golf or just have golf nearby, Kansas City is a great affordable place to get on golf. When I hear some of the prices to be on golf, almost anywhere else in the country, and except for this Midwest, everybody, us landlocked folks in the Midwest have it pretty good when it comes to cost of living. But anytime I'm like in the mountains or on the coast, some of the prices just like, holy cow, you can get 2 houses for that price here in Kansas City. So I think we talked about shopping. Let's see what else I want to touch on. School districts. There is a Top Golf here. There is an iFly. There is the mall. There is all kinds of walking trails and things to do outside. There's museums. So plenty of stuff going on. In fact, if I was going to have to pick one of the suburbs with the most stuff going on in Kansas City, it's going to be Overland Park. So you can't go wrong if you're looking for activities. And I do always like to point out that you're on the south side of the city here. A lot of people that are driving for a weekend vacation out of the city are going to, well, really just one place. They're going down towards the Ozarks because that's, your 3-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive for your weekend getaways. And that's going to be here. We got 1, 2, 3 lakes, 4 lakes, and then in all these lakes, we've got the Ozarks, Truman Lake. A lot of people, Ozarks is kind of the sweet lake that you can have houses on. Some of these are Corps of Engineer lakes, so you can't have houses on it. But a lot of people go here for long weekends or even own a second home at the lake. So being on this side of town cuts off all that, you're trying to get out of town on Friday or, even maybe sneaking out on Thursday. But to be on the south side of town and to be able to pop out and beat all that traffic, like I live up north of Kansas City, so I'm usually taking the 435 loop, trying to that everybody else is on a Friday afternoon trying to get out of town so I can head that direction. So that's just another perk to living down there. And then, heading out to Kansas, there is some smaller lakes out in Kansas that are a lot of fun. Lawrence is where KU is, so if you've got kids going to college, I mentioned there's several community colleges and satellite campuses in Overland Park. I think there's 10 or 12 of them. But if you're going to Lawrence, you're less than a half hour. You're probably like 22 to 25 minutes to KU over here. And then the drive out to the Colorado mountains, you're usually out Colorado in about 10 hours. So that's what our family does in the wintertime, is we do a lot of drives out to Colorado for like 5 to 7 day ski trips, and that's super doable. You just hop on that highway, there's nothing going on, you're just passing semi trucks. Super easy drive. It's boring as all hell because there's nothing to see in Kansas when you get out in the middle of the Kansas, but then you're right into Denver in 10 hours. So that's kind of what my family does, Ozarks or Colorado. And then for everything else, we are centrally located, like we talked about in the beginning. So a lot of folks, there's a lot of direct flights. Now we got a new airport just last year. So they just keep adding new flights, and it's an international airport. But a lot of people will pop down to Mexico, direct flights there, direct flights to Florida to get your beach vacations. You get direct flights to California, to the West Coast, and to Texas. So to get to your warm places, even Colorado, there. East Coast, we were out in the Outer Banks of North Carolina last year, so direct flights everywhere. And what's nice about being in the middle is those flights are 3 hours, 3.5 hours, depending on which way you're going or how close you're going. So it's really quick to get everywhere. You get to see, I know when I spent some time out here in Oregon, living in Oregon for 3 years, and to even think about going to something on the East Coast was it's like, nah, we'll just go down here to Mexico, or we'll shoot out to Hawaii. But being right in the middle, it just, it makes everything but Hawaii really convenient to get to. So I like to point that out about the Midwest. So we're saving some money, living our low cost of living our best life out here, close to everything, just traveling around because we got all this extra money that we save. So now we can go on vacation more. And you can do that all right from Overland Park. All right, so that is how Overland Park's laid out. As you get further south, like we said, more elbow room, bigger homes, and then a lot of the industrial stuff, as you can just see right here, kind of follows that 35 highway, which makes sense. You wouldn't want to put a warehouse out in the middle of here and have to fight traffic with 18-wheelers to get to the highway. So you're going to see a lot of that as you're driving up and down 35. That's where all the industrial stuff is. As soon as you get off the highway, this is where you get into your neighborhoods and then all the little shopping centers within it. So it's set up really nice. You never go too far without a nice neighborhood and its own little community shopping area or little strip mall. Golf courses scattered through, parks scattered through. It's really set up. And I will point out too that the median house price, even though it's the #1 city, rated by like the New York Times, Forbes, Money Magazine, Overland Park over the last 10 years keeps getting in that top 10. It's been in the top 1 spots a couple times. It's the best place to live in the nation. And that just comes to, we've got those Midwest prices, right? The cost of living here is amazing compared to some of these other big cities on the coast or even down south. So it's definitely something to consider. This is coming in like 107, I think, or 109% of the national average of cost of living. And you're gonna be in one of the biggest, baddest cities with all the amenities. And the median house price for Overland Park over the last 12 months, there was 2,657 homes that sold. This right from our MLS, was 429,000 to live in one of the best, most popular, voted #1 spots in the nation. Can you believe that? That's pretty incredible. And then that goes all the way up to, we had the highest priced home was 7.5 million. So you have got quite a stretch in there. So there's definitely something for everybody. Lots of new construction going on right now. In fact, in our blog, we stopped by some new construction. We're doing a lot of new cool contemporary things with floating staircases. So definitely take a look at that. But I told you, if you stuck around to the end, I was going to tell you why everybody's flocking here. And I think I already have, but just to combine it all together, you've got phenomenal school districts. If you're after that, I know when we moved away, that's our #1 thing we were looking for, is phenomenal school districts. So you got to pay a little extra for that. So that's why that price point of those houses is a little more. cost of living is just a little more, but when you compare it to the national average, it is amazing. So if you can come here, keep making your same huge incomes that you've got on the coast or wherever you're from, or even not, even if you're just making the national average income, you can afford to call Overland Park your home. Take advantage of these amazing amenities. And this is just one of those cities when you're there, it feels clean. The crime rate's low. I didn't really touch on that, but another reason that it attracts a lot of people is that low crime rate. We've got this graph here. You can see where it's like the crime is bouncing across the top. You've got the nation, you've got Kansas, and then this orange line bouncing across the bottom is Overland Park. And it's just, I mean, of course, that's violent crime. Everybody's got their own definition for crime. But just one more reason, when you add all those together, the size, the amenities, everybody takes, I mean, the streets are in great shape there. They've got a lot of tax revenue, so they can pour back into the city. People just love to live there. They love to call it their home. They're proud to call it their home. People are like, hey, where are you from? That darn right they're going to say, I'm from Overland Park, Kansas. They're not going to say down south. They're going to let you know they're from OP because they're proud of it. And that is why it continues to make the #1 spot in the nation. And it's right here in Kansas City. So anyway, I hope you found this useful. Feel free to fire some questions, or if you've got any other ideas, you're like, Zach, it'd be great if you guys could really do some videos on this because this is what I care about. Let us know, put it in the comments. We love seeing that stuff. I appreciate you guys watching. If you're a giving kind of person, you don't mind giving us a thumbs up, a like, hitting us, all those, it just helps other people find us, hits the algorithm and makes it more searchable. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys watching. Remember, we're here to help. It's your dream. We'll do the work, and you've got a friend in the business. So let us know how we can help. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.